Good morning, and what an inspiring morning it is. I'm up at Port Stephens, Hawk's Nest in particular, Bennett's Beach right behind me. It is a magnificent day, and it could well be the most productive day of my year. How can this be the most productive day of my year? I'm going to talk about 4 things that now is the time to do. This time of year is the time to do it, okay? It's actually really one thing, but it's got 3 or 4 elements I want to talk about. We're up here for a family holiday. We come here, or we come somewhere like this every year for about a week, about now. Because at this time of year, I'm really thinking about my plan for next year. What is my 2024 plan going to be all about? Now, part of that comes from this. This is an opportunity to think bigger, think longer term, to be inspired, to open my mind, to ask questions like, what could be possible? I wonder what would happen if we explored that. That crazy idea sitting at the bottom of my list that's been there for a while. What might that look like if we pursue? Who have I met in the last year that I might want to do something with? What are the core assets that I could leverage? What's my unique ability, my zone of genius that I should get more value out of, put more into, get even better at? How do I want to improve in the next year? The list of specific questions is endless. So I want to go back to those 4 specific things though to think about. In a sense, one is, this is a time to create and align your plans. Over the next couple of weeks, I will finalize my 2024 plan. That is calendar year. I actually do an annual plan twice a year. I do a fiscal and then I do it again 6 months later because the world evolves, I have new ideas and so on. So over the next couple of weeks, I will finish my plan. I want that plan to be exciting, motivating, really good, but I also want it to be aligned with my longer term. We're on a path, everyone's on a path to, the next year will get us 1 year closer to where we are in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So I've got a picture of what my ideal life is going to look like, but I like to revisit it. See if there's any more inspiration I can add to it. Our youngest son goes off to boarding school in January for the first time. So suddenly we're going to be empty nesters. 4 years from now, both boys will finish school and be off who knows where, studying, traveling, working. So for Coralie and I, it's a natural time. We've got to think about, what do we want the next phase of life to look like? So we think this is an opportunity to get reattached, realigned and reinvigorated by that ideal, that longer term, that future state we're aiming for. And as part of that inspiration, surrounding yourself with greenery, by the way, psychologically apparently is important. The more green you see, the better you think, the bigger you think, the more you can dream. Lots of green around here. Finding places that just naturally inspire you. I find walking along the beach brilliant for it. I find going up in the big mountains, and in a couple of weeks we'll be flying off to Europe to go skiing, and spending time in the big mountains helps me as well. I find that's a place that works for me. Different people, different places. But put yourself in environments where you might be inspired. Think bigger, because part of that story is the ideal. What is that ideal I'm looking for? So, coming back to the specifics, yes, absolutely, we're coming up with some specifics for our plan. You want to trigger and stimulate the biggest picture, the ideal. Whether you can take my tip about surrounding yourself with green, or going to the beach, or the mountains, or going for a walk in your local park, whatever it is that does it for you. But give it 2, 3, 4 iterations over a couple of weeks in the right sorts of places with the right sorts of people. Don't be constrained. Make sure you are asking questions like, what if? I wonder how. Gee, it would be interesting if, and complete those sentences. You are trying to not just be constrained by, this is where I am now, so I should do what's next. What is the problem I need to solve immediately? What is the natural, automatic next thing? Those are fair. You won't be able to help yourself but ask those questions. But make sure you're overlaying questions about what's possible. How far could you go? How good could it get? And the last point, which for most of you should be the first point. It's why I always finish this on it, because I want you to start with it. The end in mind. Start with the end in mind. Don't start your planning from, here's where we are now, what do we need to do next? What's something we could pursue after this? Again, those questions will come up and you'll pursue them. But I emphasize, start from the perspective of the end. So if it's about the ideal life in 5 years' time, great. Where would I like to move? How can I be moving towards that? At minimum for the 2024 plan, it's 12 months from now, Christmas 2024, what do I want things to look like? What stage of my business do I want to be at? What do I want to be happening in my personal life? Where do I want to be holidaying? Next Christmas, not this Christmas. Start with where you want to be 12 months from now, and then start exploring, how do I get there? This is why it's such a productive day, such a productive exercise, because it's your opportunity to imagine, to envisage, to see in your mind what it's going to look like down the track. And it's a motivating factor and it's a guiding factor in actually making that happen. It's where great productivity and progress comes from. Enjoy it, have fun doing it, come up with amazing pictures, and do a great job of planning next year. All the best.